I love stories like this one. Coming up, she was headed for stardom in her early 20s with her first single for A&M Records, but it flopped. So she started working in the industry as a choreographer. And then 16 years later, at nearly 40 years of age, she released a song in 1982 that became one of the biggest one-hit wonders ever. The thing is, this song was a cover, but she wrote a chant over the top of this song and then changed one word in the chorus. Now, the label pleaded with the artist to drop this chant. They thought it was cheesy. Her manager told her to drop it. But in the end, listeners could not get it out of their heads. She also put on an old high school uniform and made a music video that galvanized early MTV. And then the song became one of the funniest song parodies of all time. Get ready for a great story coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you can remember all the songs that Weird Al parodied, and you even used to make up your own for popular songs that would come on, you're gonna dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. We're almost to 1 million subscribers, and if you sub and share and like this, our videos and our channel, we're gonna get there. So it's time for another edition of one of my favorite series we do on here, Bottle Lightning. It's where we celebrate a song or an album that was king for a day, or for many days. Here we honor artists and bands that rocketed up the charts, but for reasons unknown weren't able to sustain that success. You know, called by some as one-hit wonders. We celebrate them instead as lightning in a bottle. And I tell you, I can't believe we haven't done this one yet. Today's story, it's a classic. So this woman, she exploded onto the scene with what many thought would be a big hit in the 60s. Except the song flopped. Now, she got another chance about 16 years later, even though she wasn't really a singer anymore, and she was nearing 40 years of age. But she was way ahead of her time, creating a music video before MTV was a blip on the radar. Speaking of MTV, marking the onset of the visual era in music, the 1980s, witnessed the rise of MTV, music television. Man. Among the videos that mirrored the infectious spirit of a song is today's, Toni Basil's Mickey. Everybody's done this chant, and you're gonna love this story. It's a song that was named after her crush on Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, or so people think. Let's see if that's really true. So beyond its rapid ascent to the summit of global singles chart, this track transformed into a cultural phenomenon, leaving an indelible imprint on the dance music scene and really reshaping its landscape for years to come. So let's talk about this incredible story. Toni Basil was born to be a performer. It was just in her DNA. Her parents possessed a unique fusion of talent that they passed on to their daughter. Toni's mother was a vaudeville comedian, and her father was the band leader for the house orchestra at the legendary Sands Hotel in Las Vegas. Toni was what you might call a baby ballerina. She started dancing on stage as a toddler in a Vegas troupe called Wells and the Four Fays. As a teenager, Toni was a member of a dance team that supported Connie Francis at the Sahara Hotel in Vegas, and she was a cheerleader at Las Vegas High School. In fact, she would use that cheerleading outfit in the video. We'll talk about that in a second. Following high school, Toni carried her strong ambition to LA, seeking formal performance training to establish herself in the Hollywood scene in the 1960s. Casting directors noticed Toni right away, and she landed a slot in LA's revival of West Side Story, featuring most of the original Broadway cast. She did this with another young up-and-comer named Terry Garr. Toni Basil has been likened to a show business chameleon, seamlessly blending into the realm of icons and legendary projects and events throughout the 1960s and 1970s. Now, in 1964, she danced alongside Frank Sinatra in the Rat Pack production of Robin and the Seven Hoods. And during that same year, she not only performed in, but also assisted in choreographing Elvis Presley's Viva Las Vegas, where she also had a prominent role as a lead dancer. Toni Basil initiated her recording career in 1966 with a single for A&M Records, featuring the title song on the short film Breakaway by artist Bruce Conner. On the B-side was I'm 28, actually. It was written by Graham Gouldman, who would later co-found 10cc. This song held a lot of promise, but ultimately flopped. Didn't hit the charts at all. I've got to break these chains But Toni kept going in the industry. She became, at that point, one of the most sought-after choreographers in the business. In fact, her choreography in dancing in the psychedelic musical Head in 1968 would establish the connection for Toni with her eventual #1 hit Mickey, a remarkable 15 years later. The production of Head was surrounded by the new Hollywood movement from the moment. The screenplay and development of the music was co-written and co-produced by Bob Rafelson, and the actor Rolling Stone magazine dubbed the great seducer Mr. Jack Nicholson. Head was the American version of Hard Day's Night, starring the Monkees, that lovable fabricated rock band featuring Peter Tork, Michael Nesmith, Davy Jones, and Mickey Dolenz. You can probably tell how Dolenz and Toni Basil became intertwined in pop culture, but the story isn't there just yet. Head, for its part, was a box office disaster. By the time the movie opened in theaters, the Monkees' once popular TV show had been canceled after just 2 seasons, and their appeal had clearly dissipated from there. However, the music had a renaissance in the 1980s, developing a kind of cult-like following because of its experimental directing style and its really cool soundtrack. The rejuvenation of Head also fueled a prefab comeback for the Monkees that fueled a reunion and a lucrative national tour in 1986. Toni had another connection to Jack Nicholson when she played uncredited parts in 2 other Nicholson films. There's 5 Easy Pieces and the iconic Easy Rider in 1969. In fact, Toni was having dinner with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper when they came up with the idea for Easy Rider, the film that many believe started American independent cinema.
My name is Mary.
So throughout the 70s, Toni worked on many films, including American Graffiti in '73. She was also hired to choreograph the new medium of music videos. That came a little bit later. One of her first music videos that she did was the video for Once in a Lifetime, for Talking Heads. The clip features Head's leader, David Byrne, at the forefront against a white background, which was a similar aesthetic to what Toni created for the video for Mickey a little bit later. When they began their collaboration for the Once in a Lifetime video, it's kind of cool, Toni told David they wouldn't be working on steps. Instead, they would work on concepts and on acting pieces. David's idea for the video was to spotlight the movement of people in trances. So David and Toni went to UCLA and reviewed footage of preachers proselyting. And also people speaking in tongues and people having epileptic seizures. Quite a threesome there.
Well, how did I get here?
It ended up being a great video, and after she worked with him, she was commissioned by Radial Choice, a new record label based in London, to make music videos full-time. Toni had a concept for a cheerleading video, but she needed a song to create the choreography for it. So actually the cart came before the horse here. It was songwriter Nicky Chinn, one of the most prolific songwriters of the 70s and 80s, that suggested a song called Kitty for Toni to record and choreograph for this music video about a cheerleader. Nicky had composed this song with his prodigious writing partner Mike Chapman, and they did it for the pop band Racey. Kitty was not a single for Racey. It was actually an album cut from the band's 1979 LP Smash and Grab. But Nicky always believed that Kitty was a hit that was waiting to happen. Now, Racey didn't really hit in America, but they had 4 top 25 hits in their native UK, including Lay Your Love on Me, that went to #3 on the British singles chart and #1 in Australia. And they also had song Some Girls that went to #2 and topped the charts again in Australia in '79.
Some girls will, some girls won't.
Now, Toni Basil appreciated the vibrant energy of the song Kitty, but she aimed to infuse it with her own distinctive style. Now, initially, she altered the song's gender perspective, shifting from a male singing about a girl named Kitty to a female singing about having the hots for a guy. Consequently, she substituted the title from Kitty to Mickey. So, people are always trying to read something into anything. So when Toni changed Kitty to Mickey, the public concluded that she'd done that because of a longtime crush she had on Mickey Dolenz, and that's been the story for decades. Toni finally shut it down, though. We're going to find out what it is for sure right after we mention our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I always wear. As we thrive in the new year here, it's a perfect time to upgrade your look with Zenni Eyewear. They have so many different styles, so many colors, so many shapes to choose from. You can design your own look and see how you look before you buy. Price, it's hard to believe, a complete pair of prescription glasses starting at just $6.95. Click on our link right here to get yours today. Check it out. So changing the title of the song from Kitty to Mickey, that had nothing to do with Mickey Dolenz. This is what Toni would reveal. I mean, yeah, she choreographed the movie, but she never really developed a rapport with Mickey Dolenz. Toni actually knew Davy Jones a lot better. Calling the song Mickey was simply because it was a common male name that rhymed with Kitty. And next, Toni proposed an idea that the label initially considered very stupid and very cheesy. She suggested integrating a cheerleader chant for the song's introduction. I mean, after all, Toni already had aspirations of making a cheerleader-themed music video. May as well put a chant in. For her, it was just part of the plan. Racey's Kitty started with a driving beat leading into verse 1. You played around all night, but that's just a little long, just as Chin and Chapman had written it. Now, during the recording process, Toni directed producers Greg Matheson and Trevor Veitch to amplify the stomp clap element from the original Racey song, drawing direct inspiration from the intro of another Mike Chapman #1 creation, My Sharona by the Knack. Now, despite Radial Choice, the record label that enlisted Toni being really enthusiastic about her transformation of songs into music videos, the higher-ups at the label pleaded with her to exclude this chant from the record. They thought that it was cheesy and really ridiculous. Even her manager tried to talk her out of it. They just thought it wouldn't work. Toni reluctantly compromised. She agreed to include the chant only in the video. However, she broke her promise and she put the chant into the record anyway. And of course, ultimately, it was Toni's rhythmic chants of, "Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey, Mickey," that propelled the song into the infectious global smash that it became. That's the part everybody remembers. I mean, Toni fondly remembered her time as the head cheerleader at Las Vegas High School, with memories of the echoing cheers and stomps of her fellow cheerleaders during basketball games in the gym. That spirited atmosphere was precisely what she aimed to capture in the reimagining of Mickey. Just as she had in her teenage years, Toni grabbed the spotlight for the cheerleading scenes in the Mickey video, drawing upon her background in cheerleading and her extensive experience in front of the camera. However, she required a team of cheerleaders for the video's concept. So the problem here was that Toni was up against it. Not only was the record label dead set against the concept of a cheerleading video, they also didn't give her the budget to hire professional dancers like she was used to. So after an attempt to create a cheerleader anthem with songwriting great Allie Willis that didn't pan out, Toni Basil embraced an old-school approach and attended cheerleader competitions for additional inspiration. So here she discovered two Los Angeles-based troops, stomp-style cheerleaders primarily from Dorsey High, and then stick cheerleaders with expertise in mounts from Carson High, predominantly Samoan. Toni also discovered that cheerleading was much different in the 80s than it was in 1959 and 1960. Toni found the modern style to be funky and louder, more liberal. Now, despite the Dorsey High cheerleaders performing the opening chant, it's actually the Carson High cheerleaders who made an appearance in the video. Although invited, the Dorsey High School girls opted not to participate, as the concept of a video had yet to gain traction without the existence of MTV at that point. Reflecting on the situation, Toni remarked, "The label execs thought, what in the hell is she doing now? That's been the story of my life." In another cost-cutting move, Toni Basil pulled out her old cheerleading outfit from Las Vegas High, and she wore it in the video. Toni did virtually everything for the video. I mean, she was the director, she was the producer, the choreographer, and the lead performer in a piece that was made well before the launch of MTV. Once again, Toni Basil was ahead of her time.
Well, it always means you won't. You've given me the chills, baby. Please, baby, don't.
Toni Basil's Mickey was actually released in the UK and Australia before it was a single in the US. And it quickly proved the label was wrong, dead wrong about Toni's Chant. The song instantly blew listeners' minds. In America, the song was the lead single from Toni's debut album, Word of Mouth, and it entered the Billboard Hot 100 in early September of 1982. By the middle of December, a few months later, it reached #1, and it remained on the survey for a remarkable 27 weeks. For nearly a year, Mickey was one of the most played videos on MTV, and it wasn't even planned for MTV. Mickey was Toni's only hit single, though. The follow-up single, Nobody, failed to make the Hot 100, and it stalled at number 52 in the UK. There was a self-titled album that hit the stores in '83, but it just didn't sell. Each of the 4 singles failed to crack the Hot 100, but the second single from the LP did climb to number 4 on the US dance chart. So when her recording career hit a wall, Toni concentrated solely on what she did best, choreography. Her work in films alone from '86 to 2010 was amazing. There's Peggy Sue Got Married, Something to Talk About, That Thing You Do, My Best Friend's Wedding, Legally Blonde, Charlie Wilson's War, and The House Bunny, among many others. In 2019, Toni choreographed a funny scene for the Leonardo DiCaprio character in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mickey has been a marvel of pop culture ever since it was released in January of '82. In the cinema, the song has been placed in The Kissing Booth, Spy, Pitch Perfect, Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, Bring It On, and Man on Fire. I gotta say, my favorite scene was Mike Myers and Tia Carrere singing the song in Wayne's World in 1992.
Hey Rickey! Hey Rickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey Rickey!
In 1987, Run DMC used a version of the Mickey cheerleader chant as the hook of their classic 1987 single, It's Tricky. The late Olivia Newton-John and her sister Rona made a remake of Mickey for the soundtrack of A Few Best Men in 2012. And of course, Weird Al had one of his most famous parodies of the song, choosing the I Love Lucy theme for his Rickey parody.
Oh, Rickey, you're so fine, you play your bongos all the time. Hey, Rickey! Hey, Rickey!
Actually, one of my favorite Weird Al parodies for sure. During UFC 189 at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas on July 11, 2015, fighter Mickey Gall chose Mickey as the soundtrack for his Ultimate Fighting Championship debut. Despite attempts by UFC President Dana White to dissuade him, including threats of a potential ban, Gall, just like Toni Basil, defied authority and did what he wanted to do. Toni Basil is truly a pioneer in the dance world. She's an expert in world dance, Afro-Cuban, tango, flamenco, salsa, along with East Coast and West Coast swing. She's won many awards, including an Emmy, as well as a Lifetime Achievement Innovator at the American Choreography Awards and the Los Angeles Theater Ovation Street Dance Award. Mickey, Toni Basil's zestful double platinum reworking of a Nicky Chim Mike Chapman song, has been enshrined in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as one of the pioneering singles of the 1980s. So in closing, one would think that all the attention that Mickey received, Toni Basil would have made a boatload of cash from the song royalties. I mean, let's be honest, it was Toni's own Mickey, You're So Fine, You Blow My Mind chant that made this song such a smash. It is without a question the part of the song that pops into your head whenever you think of it. I challenge you to get that chant out of your head when you think of the song. However, as clever as it is, or as the chant was, Toni made a huge mistake by not insisting on getting a songwriting credit. You know, when she did bring it up, and she did, Chin and Chapman told her, you know, it was such a minor alteration of the original that it wasn't worthy of a credit. Thus, Toni ended up with no publishing rights whatsoever. Chin and Chapman got paid big time, but on the flip side, it's been estimated that Toni Basil has received less than $5,000 in royalties for Mickey altogether. But you know what? It's iconic. I mean, the Mickey music video is now officially in the Museum of Modern Art, and Toni, who's now in her 80s, she's as spry as ever. She dances every single day. She says she can still fit into the vintage cheerleading outfit she wore for the classic music video and that she wore in high school. Just amazing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about Toni Basil and Mickey. Is this the greatest chant from an 80s hit ever? Let's talk about great chants below, and let's talk about this incredible track. I can't believe she's only made $5,000 from the thing. Such a iconic music video. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. We'd love to have you. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.